I thought this was the weirdest quarterback draft from top to bottom that we've had in recent memory, like as long as I can remember. Certainly since I've been an analyst, but even like when I was a fan and a kid down below. And it just hit me in a certain type of way because if you were on one of those big desks, you would have got laughed off the stage back in January if you said Tyler Shough was the third quarterback taken, top end of the second round. You would have got laughed off the stage if you said that Shedeur was the sixth quarterback taken. You would have got laughed off the stage if you said that Graham Mertz and Cam Miller went ahead of Quinn Ewers. And ultimately, you would have got laughed off the stage if you said that Quinn Ewers was the 12th quarterback taken in this draft. Imagine saying that back in January, or more so December, before the college football transfer portal initial window closed. If you believe what you hear or believe what you read, Quinn Ewers could have made $4 million at the college game, but instead he goes pro. And I chatted with Connor Knapp, Barstool's Connor Knapp. I love his stuff. I got a video coming out, YouTube long form, about the whole Nico Iamaleava story. And I was like, you know what? He's the go-to Tennessee guy to get his thoughts. And he brought up a great point that I'm going to steal it. He was like, if Quinn Ewers transfers out of Texas, well, then he gets criticized for transferring out of Texas. And it's like, oh, you're not loyal. And he's got the Longhorn tattoo on his thigh. And it's like, dude, you got to be true to your hometown school. But then now he's getting criticized for being like, dude, what are you doing? You went late in the seventh round, and then now you passed up on millions of dollars. And he would have been the best returning quarterback in college football, him or Arch, which is a funny dynamic in itself, but just a wild quarterback draft. And it's funny to me because like guys like me and my peers, right? It's our job to provide analysis on football and the draft, and we do it for months leading up. And we were like dead wrong. The collective football world was dead wrong on how this quarterback draft shook out. I'm looking at Tyler Shough, and so I said shook out. But yeah, wild. Other thoughts, just big picture on the quarterback draft. Cam Ward, no surprise that won. Jackson Dart, no surprise that he went in the 20s. I think we could kind of piece together the storyline of like, hey, it makes sense that like someone falls in love with his game. I'm a USC guy, so I've been tracking Jackson Dart since, the second he made his first spring ball appearance at USC. It's fitting that he's a first round quarterback. That was very much the narrative when he was at USC, is like, okay, we had Darnold, man, this Jackson Dart guy's got something. And I was high on Jackson Dart. He was my dark horse Heisman pick going into the 2023 season. He was my dark horse Heisman pick going into the 2024 season. And then I got influenced by the rest of the media, where I was like, you know what? I'm losing steam. I was like, what am I missing kind of thing? But I've always loved Jackson Dart. It's the random interceptions that I think made me lose steam with him. He has some ugly interceptions, which, hey, hopefully when he gets to the NFL, and I've said this before, the mentality of guys shifts when they go from college to NFL, where in college, a lot of these guys might feel the internal push to play hero ball all the time. And it's like, yo, I got to put up 35 points a game, 40 points a game, or my team doesn't have a shot. And then the mentality shifts when you get to the NFL, where it's more so, not that you're tentative, but it's more so a field position battle, and don't make the catastrophic mistake, take what the defense gives you, and you rein it in a little bit. And Jackson Dart reminds me of a guy where, hey, when it's not, I'm carrying the entire torch for Ole Miss. Obviously, you want to play his game, but I wonder if the turnovers lessen when he gets to the NFL. I made a similar point a couple of weeks ago about Sam Darnold getting to Seattle, right? If he goes to Seattle, got a defensive-minded head coach. He's not being asked to throw the ball all around the park with a high passing offense with a bunch of playmakers. Does his mentality change a little bit by going to Seattle? Obviously, he's still going to be the same quarterback. Obviously, Jackson Dart's still going to be the same quarterback. But I do think I could see the mentality changing. Tyler Shough, again, I don't see it. I do not see it. Does he deserve to get drafted? Sure. Does he have some upside? Sure. But second round, pick 40? Like, take the Shedeur conversation out of it. This is a dude who's been in college, 6-7 years? There's a lot of quarterbacks in recent memory. You imagine where Quinn Ewers would be at right now if he stayed into college 6 or 7 years? Well, then maybe the joke is, hey, he should have done that. Like, Max, that's the exact point, right? Maybe the Saints are saying that's exactly what we want. We want a guy that's battle tested and all that. I know he had injuries. To me, it's a red flag when it takes a guy 3 years in college to really get warmed up and acclimated to the college game to play at a higher level. To me, in my experience, the guys that are the best NFL prospects are guys that adapted to college football early on quickly. From personal experience, two best quarterbacks that I were around in college are Kenny Pickett and Sam Darnold. I played with other guys that started in the NFL as well. Those two guys adjusted to the college game quickly, and I do think it speaks to where they're at making the movement from college to the NFL. With Jalen Milroe, it's higher than I would have taken him, but that's right around the area, third round, where his upside is so high. He's got the highest upside of any quarterback in the draft that it makes sense. And I can totally see why he went in the third round at that slot. I also think for the Seahawks, again, a huge storyline, and I'll get to it. Trust me, I got my Shedeur thoughts, so hang with me. But a huge storyline is, how did Jalen Milroe go above Shedeur Sanders? Well, if you're a Seahawks fan, I'm a Seahawks fan, I'm a Northwest guy, it's much easier to sell to your locker room, to Sam Darnold, to your fan base of like, hey, we're going to get Jalen Milroe. Take him time to develop, but his upside's so good. Love his work ethic, love his upside. Can't let him fall past the third round kind of thing. That storyline makes sense. If the Seahawks at round 3, pick 92, take Shedeur Sanders, well, oh shit. Now it's, hey, everyone's wondering, are they not all in on Sam Darnold? All the chaos of that QB room, all the distractions, da-da-da-da-da. And I'll get to the distractions because I think that's a super polarizing topic right now in the football world. The reality is, it's just cleaner. No matter where you sit on the Jalen Milroe, Shedeur Sanders, all the factors that are in there, it's just a cleaner pick for the Seahawks. So I can totally see why they went Jalen Milroe. Those of you guys that have followed my content, I think Jalen should have gone back to school. I think he easily could have been a second round pick, if not a first round pick. I think he has a long ways to go as a passer. I think the play calling that Kalen DeBoer had last year at Alabama protected him and his inability to consistently process and get to his third and fourth progression. A lot of their passing attack, a lot of their playbook was empty formation. Empty formation forces the defense's hand. You can only do so much disguising when you're in empty formation. That was a lot of the Alabama passing attack. I think in critical downs on the road, he was able to use his legs to get out of trouble, and that was the calling card. Jalen Milroe is certainly going to have his legs still be a factor at the NFL game, but it won't be as much, and I think he had a lot to develop as a passer, so I wish he would have gone back to school, but Seahawks get the quarterback prospect with the best upside. Everyone and their mother says he's got elite intangibles across the board, so that pick for the Seahawks to me makes sense, and I've done a lot of content on Sam Darnold's contract and how that worked out. Yeah, Dylan Gabriel, that's where it got really interesting. I guess Tyler Shuck's where it got interesting. But again, to tell the story, all right, Cleveland goes Dylan Gabriel, but there's also the Dylan Gabriel over Kyle McCord. I had Kyle McCord over Dylan Gabriel. There's Dylan Gabriel over Will Howard. A lot of people had Will Howard over Dylan Gabriel. There's Dylan Gabriel again over Quinn Ewers. Yes, there's 4 quarterbacks between Will Howard and Quinn Ewers and Riley Leonard, Graham Mertz, Cam Miller, and Curtis Rourke. I had Dylan Gabriel above all 4 of those guys. I did not have Dylan Gabriel above Quinn Ewers, but this just reminds me of a team falling in love with a guy, and the Browns fell in love with Dylan Gabriel. I think it's as simple as that. With respect to the Browns pick here, I think the Browns saw a guy that had a ton of college starts, that had success at 3 different programs, that probably wasn't as high in all the mock drafts and whatnot because of his size. But we've seen guys with not elite size time and time again outperform their draft status. And so here we are. And I find it funny where I feel like a huge storyline in drafts the past couple years was, hey, how many starts and how many reps and how much production do you have in college? That was a huge talking point, especially with the Brock Purdy having success his rookie year. And, it was a huge talking point when Kenny Pickett went first round. I know Kenny's, so far, his career hasn't worked out, which is funny now that we're talking about the Browns. But that was a huge talking point. And then this year, that was not a big talking point with the quarterbacks. And I think it's because literally all these guys had a shit ton of reps outside of Jalen Milroe, I would argue. But for the most part, all these guys had a ton of reps, and so that wasn't as big of a talking point. But my point here is with Dylan Gabriel and the amount of snaps that he's seen, that's a huge factor for the Browns, where they're like, yo, this dude's played a ton of ball, had success at 3 different stops. We like that. Sweet. We're taking him. No quarterback taken in the 4th round. Then we get to Shedeur in the 5th round. Kyle McCord, you guys know I love Kyle McCord. That to me is an absolute bargain at the 6th round. I love what the Eagles have done in recent memory with their quarterback positions. It's no secret, or with their quarterback free agent moves and draft picks. It's no secret. Jalen Hurts, he's their dude. He's their franchise quarterback. But they got Kyle McCord at a great value here. Hometown guy. Would not surprise me if he has long-term success in the NFL. What they did with Tanner McKee a few years ago, I know that's not a sexy thing to say, but there was a lot of people that said, hey, if Tanner McKee was on a better football team in college, Tanner McKee was a 5-star guy. Kyle McCord was a 5-star guy coming out of high school. I think Tanner McKee's still on that roster. I don't really know. But my point is, there was a lot of relative value and relative upside in taking a guy like that. You get a guy like Kenny Pickett, once a former first-round draft pick. There's a world where, hey, maybe he had long-term success and he was their backup last year on a Super Bowl winning team. So I guess you could say there was success there. But, and even to Jalen Hurts, right? Controversial pick, getting him in the second round when they had Carson Wentz, and that worked out. So I just, big picture, what the Eagles have done quarterback-wise, it's not like sexy per se walking out of here with Kyle McCord, but that works out. Will Howard to the Steelers, I think it makes sense for both sides. My take on the Steelers, which again I'll get to when I talk about Shedeur, is I think the Steelers just didn't like any of these guys at the value they had in the second, third, and fourth round. I don't think they wanted a part of Shedeur, obviously, when it's all said and done. And I think they subscribe to a little bit of what I'm saying is they don't see Tyler Shough as a second round quarterback. They don't see Jalen Milroe as a third round, he's going to be our starting quarterback. They don't see Dylan Gabriel as a third round pick. And not a lot of people talking about this, but the Aaron Rodgers angle, if you're the Steelers and you got a backdoor shot at making a Super Bowl charge here, you do. And if you're in the war room and you're kind of lukewarm on all these quarterback prospects, do you really draft one when you're the leader in the clubhouse to get an Aaron Rodgers? Or does that deter him? And is that just a storyline that you don't want to navigate? I'm not saying Aaron Rodgers dictated their entire quarterback draft strategy, but I am saying it's a factor. And I am saying it's a factor that makes sense if you're just lukewarm on all these quarterbacks. And then Riley Leonard, one thing, and I forget which analyst I saw say this, but I 100% disagree with it. So you can clip this and you can remember I said this. They sat down. I genuinely forget who it was. Maybe you guys can let me know. But with Riley Leonard, they said, oh, elite processing. That is just the buzzword of all buzzwords. That's just saying elite processing because it's a quarterback who's had success and it's a quarterback who's, great intangible guy. He appears, smart and whatnot. Riley Leonard is not a good processor, period. That's why he's a 6th round quarterback instead of a 4th round quarterback. He does not process full field progressions at an elite level. And Mike Denbrock, their offensive coordinator this past year at Notre Dame, he, I think, pivoted their whole passing game strategy after Notre Dame lost to NIU because Riley Leonard is not a strong processor in the pocket at the quarterback spot. He's a great athlete. He's, a great leader. I think his legs are very, very effective and like a real factor and probably still will be a factor in the NFL. But you look at that passing attack, weeks 1 and 2, they have an NFL playbook. It's full field progressions. It's consistently asking their quarterback to get quickly down to his 3rd, 4th, and maybe 5th progression. You look at the rest of the play calls after that, it's a lot of half field reads. Half field reads meaning cut the field in half, keep your quarterback's eyes to one side of the field, and don't ask him to scan the whole field. So I completely disagree with Riley Leonard as a good processor. I think that's just like a crutch and just like a convenient talking point thing, but I'm out on that. Colts are real interesting. I'll get to it again of they were a backdoor team to me that could have gotten the Shedeur sweepstakes that no one was really talking about. Arizona, I think there was a world where Arizona could have got in the mix, which to me speaks to how critical 2025 is for Kyler Murray. If Arizona loved Shedeur and we're like, yo, this guy's a top 10 guy, there's teams that could have got interesting in there. That's where I'm at. And then I'll end on Quinn Ewers. Again, the 12th quarterback taken. There were people, a lot of people, pretty sure Joel Klatt, Mel Kiper, a lot of people were talking about Quinn Ewers as a 1st round quarterback. I don't want to say lock because I don't want to put words in their mouth, but a 1st round quarterback in October. And then let's see how my math is. 7 months later, he is the 12th quarterback taken after having a strong college football season. That to me is an absolute shock. But it's also a reminder to me, I got to trust my gut, man. Because I always was not all in on Quinn Ewers. I'm surprised he's a 7th round pick. I would have taken him 4th, 5th round because of the upside. I think he had to deal with a lot at Texas. I think that's great value for the Dolphins. But I always was hesitant with his ability to drive the football. It's the number one concern I have for Quinn Ewers. I think he has a natural tendency to always want to layer the football. And in the NFL, not that you're throwing every single throw like an absolute fastball, but you got to be able to drive the rock. And I don't think that's natural to him. I think he's going to have to, I was going to say he's going to have to work on it. No, at this point in his career, he is who he is. And it's funny because I think Tua doesn't always drive the football, right? He's much more of a layering quarterback. So that could make some sense there. Obviously, being a backup behind Tua with his injury history, some of the weapons the Dolphins have, it would not surprise me at all if Quinn Ewers is the starter for the Dolphins 3 years from now. We look back and that was the best value pick in this entire draft. But that one's interesting to me. Also interesting, little side note, then I'll move on to Shedeur. Curtis Rourke, there's a pocket of people that love themselves some Curtis Rourke. The fact that the Niners drafted him. The Niners and Kyle Shanahan have a tendency of finding the guy that falls through the cracks and hangs out in the NFL for 7 years. There's Kirk Cousins. There's the Mullins guy. There's obviously Brock Purdy in there. The Niners were the team that kind of took a chance on Darnold, which now makes sense. Or not took a chance, but they were the guy that was like, they were the team that was like, yep, that's our backup. We're taking of all the backup guys, of all the Jameis Winstons, of all the Joe Flaccos. Nope, we're taking Sam Darnold. Yes, football world, you might say Darnold sucks after the Jets and the Panthers chapter and all that. No, we're taking him as our guy. And obviously the Niners were totally right there. And I think Minnesota took a page out of their book. So I just think big picture, the whole theme of this little segment thing right here was as weird of a quarterback draft as I can remember.